Good morning, everyone. It's Monday again.
Mhm.
Um, we're here with our discipleship review. This past weekend, we talked about a very familiar passage of scripture, um, Daniel chapter 3, verses 14 through 26, which is the three Hebrew boys and the fiery furnace. Um, and had a great discussion. Um, those of those of you who were able to join us, very much appreciate your input and your perspectives. Um, and so, just a quick point. Um, One of the things that really kind of stood out about our discussion and about like just the lesson itself is the need to be intentional about standing for God, about representing God. The fact that you don't just coincidentally represent God. You don't, oh wow, I didn't even realize I was taking a stand. Like
Yeah,
you the if you read, especially from the beginning of Daniel, when they are brought into exile, when they are separated from their homeland, they make the determination before anything else happens, no matter where we go, no matter who, because they wind up in the king's palace. They wind up in a good situation,
yeah,
and they still say we're not going to let even the influence and the trappings of this good situation cause us to turn our backs and stop representing God. We're going to represent God. Even the king who is trying to persuade us with his food, and he's trying with these positions, and he wants to change our names, and he wants to do all these things to try and persuade us that, hey, you have it good here. I'm treating you well. I'm promoting you, and you have influence and authority. Just lighten up on the whole real God thing. Like, just serve some of these idols like we're doing. They decide, no, we are going to intentionally represent God. We're not going to um, we're not going to let anything stop us or persuade us to not represent God. And I think that's definitely relevant even in 2022, when there's so many different ideas and thoughts, ways of thinking that really want to kind of persuade us as Christians, like, hey, do you really have to be so deep and heavy into the whole Christian thing? Like, just like, come on, like lighten up, just compromise a little bit, just
yeah. God is love.
yeah, there you go. All kinds of like, I mean, we all believe in a higher power. Like, you don't have to give him a name and everything. Like, just, it's just, there's all of these. What was the famous Oprah quote? There's multiple roads to get to God, like not just Christianity. All these different ideas and thoughts. But as Christians, we need to be intentional about recognizing to represent God, to stand for God means you're going to run into conflict with other people. It's unavoidable. And so at that point it becomes about cost what is it? Cost analysis, I believe in economic terms is, it's cost analysis. Like, okay, is the price, is the cost worth what I'm investing? Like, is it worth it to stand for God, if even if it's going to upset some people? Is it still worth it? Only you can answer that question. No one else can answer that question for you. And the thing that I love about this lesson is they didn't wait until the furnace was blazing till the king turned on the furnace. They didn't wait and decide, okay, well, let's uh let's cost analysis now. Let's weigh this out. Let's see. Mm, I mean, it is hot, and I do see people are, they're like the soldiers are burning. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
they didn't wait till then. They had already decided, no matter what, it doesn't matter what happens from this point. It doesn't even matter if we survive the fire. We are going to stay aligned and allegiant to God. So,
Yeah. Um, One of the things that kind of goes in line with what you're saying is just I noticed through this lesson, studying and looking at it, was just their value of worship. They valued worship to the point where they said only God, the real God, is going to get our worship. They were not going to, like say, compromise. They were not going to settle or split the worship and say, okay, we'll do this for the king, although we're not, really worshiping. Like we'll just do it, and then we'll still give God the real worship. Like it wasn't that mindset of trying to split the worship or trying to make it look like, or it talked about just how sometimes we would probably think, okay, I'm gonna bow down, but it's not to their God. Although everybody else is doing it to their God, my bowing down is not to their God. That that's hard to say to somebody else on the outside looking at you bowing down when everybody else is bowing down to the same thing. It's hard for them to accept that you're not bowing down to that same God, you
right.
know. But that their minds, they were in this place, where they necessarily didn't want to be, and didn't have much say so. But what they can control is who they worship. They can
Yeah.
control that, you know. And their mindset, their motto was, "We are not going to give anybody else to worship but God." That's how
Right.
much they valued worship, to the point where they knew death could be a consequence from that.
Yeah.
To deny the king, it's not just denying other people. This is the king's decree and ordinance that was sent out. So this
Right.
could lead to death. But at that stake, we value worship more than death. We value
Yeah.
our God getting everything from us that he deserves more than death. And just that stance says a lot about how they see God, how they value God, how they value worship. And I think that's something definitely we can pick up from. Just ask ourselves, do we value worship that same way? Or is our worship split? Is it, okay, God gets a little bit of this, and then other things I got going on, they get a little bit of this, and like they were 100% only going to give worship to God. And that was, like I say, one of the things that just kind of stood out to me.
Yeah. All or nothing.
Yeah.
And that again, it just speaks of intention. Like it's
Yeah.
not accidental. It's not coincidental. It was intentional. Like only for God. Only for God. So yeah, great discussion. We hope you'll join us next week. Looking ahead, let's have it queued up, Rich. Chapter
Mm.
4, verses 28 through 37. Next week's lesson is Daniel chapter 4, verses 28 through 37. So definitely hope you will be able to join us um, Saturday. And just another encouragement for those of you who may not have that 9:30 spot open for the few minutes that we try and meet together, please still try and engage with us on Canvas. That's why we're setting up that environment where even if you can't, for some reason, sometimes you may have to work or something like that. But if you can't make the actual meeting, you can still engage about the lesson on Canvas in our learning environment. Um, it's not as good as you actually being there, but it is an opportunity to still grow and share your opinion and hear the opinion of others. So, um,
Yes.
that's it.
So
Anything else?
yeah, I was just gonna say, make sure you go in there and answer the question from this week. That'll be in
Yes.
there. A couple people answered the question last week, and we see that, we see your thoughts. Hopefully everybody else sees it. If not, go in there and check it out and see what people how they answered the question from last week. And we just encourage everyone to go in this week and do the same thing. Just answer the question so everyone can hear and see your thoughts.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you Saturday. And if God says the same, we'll be back Monday with another review.